Hey guys, so I want to talk about something that I know impacts a lot of business owners, entrepreneurs, especially if you're super driven and you're trying to build something, you're trying to grow or scale a company. I call this the sort of open loop phenomena, and that is that we kind of live our lives with a bunch of open loops. If you have problems going to bed at night, if you have problems going to sleep, if you have problems with shutting down, if you have problems stopping your day, hopefully this tactic will help you. It's helped me tremendously in my life. And anytime I can start feeling this idea of open loops or open loops, I start applying this technique, and it helps me really shut down. And I don't mean shut down in a bad way, shut down in a great way. Because if you have a family, if you have kids, or just even if you want a social life outside of your business, your company, you really need to be exercising this kind of tactic. So what an open loop is basically when you have a thought pattern in your head that you can't quite shut down because you're constantly trying to figure stuff out. So if you think about a computer, and on that computer you have like 10 tabs open, the reason we have all these tabs open is because we're usually wanting to go back to something. Like, we don't want to forget we were working on something. We got interrupted or whatever. And so we think we're multitasking, but what we really do is switch tasking. We're really just going from one task to the other. And so the idea of open loops comes from this concept that a lot of times as business owners, entrepreneurs, you're constantly opening up a loop or opening a tab to check out something, a website, whatever, right? But think about that in your business. You're having a conversation with someone, you are writing a letter, an email to someone, or you're doing these things, or you're trying to figure out a new strategy. So you've whiteboarded something. And so you have all these open loops that are going on in your head. So at the end of your day, you can't just get in your car and go home and that's that. So the reason is because you have all these open loops. So you go, how do you control these open loops? Well, if you think about how you close down your website or close down actual open tabs, you really just click X. Well, obviously we can't do that, and we don't want to lose that information. So what I like to do is start my day with this particular exercise and end my day with a similar. So the first thing I do is I say every day, what do I want to feel at the end of the day? What do I want to feel like I got accomplished? What do I want to feel like I did? What do I want to feel like? For me, I'm a big accomplishment person. So I want to feel like I made progress. I want to feel like I made accomplishments. So instead of starting my day with a bunch of open loops, I start my day with feelings of what do I want to feel like. So if I say, well, by the end of today, I want to feel like I got my new webinar, rolling. It's just crushing it. Okay. Well, what has to happen? And is that a realistic feeling? Is that something that's like real, like tangible? Can I actually do that today? Do I have the time in my schedule to work on or to do that thing? So the first thing I have to do is, number one, figure out my expectations. Are my expectations wrong? Sometimes we put an expectation on ourselves, like, oh, I'm just gonna build a brand new webinar this week, or I'm gonna throw out a whole new training manual for my team today. And it's like, when are you gonna accomplish that in your 8 hours of work? It's just not gonna happen today. So you say, okay, well, how about this? I want to feel like I made progress on that. Okay, good. That's a good feeling. So I want to feel like I made progress. Well, what has to happen for you to feel like you've made progress? Okay. So I want to feel like I made progress. And the way that happens is I created an outline of the training manual. Okay. So perfect. So at the end of the day, I want to feel like I made progress towards creating this training manual. So for that to happen, I have to have made the actual manual outline. So guess what? That becomes one of my number one priorities for the day. I only like to have 3 max priorities for the day. Even better day is 1. And that's what keeps me from being stressed out. Because if I only have 1 to 3 different things to focus on every day, that which I don't get to are not part of my priorities, I don't have to stress about. And I can go, oh, my expectation is not that they're done today. My expectation is that they get worked on, that we make progress towards those, and that we'll finish them tomorrow. So going back to the open loop thing, so now I don't have an open loop because I know that the only thing I've got to do is make the outline. So my number one priority for the day is make the outline. Well, how long is that going to take me to do? 30 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever. And so at the end of my day, I can go back and say, I finished my outline. I finished what I was supposed to do. And therefore I feel good. I feel accomplished. Now, maybe it's not where I want to be. Maybe I'm not done with my training manual, but it propels me. It gives me something forward. I can shut down the memory bank for the day and focus on my kids, focus on my wife, focus on other things, because my open loops are not just constantly running. So anytime I feel like I'm in an open loop pattern, it's because I have not set an expectation properly. I've not dealt with that expectation in a way that draws out the feelings that are driving those things. Because how many of you know we are driven by our feelings? We are not driven by the thing we want. We're driven by that thing that gives us that feeling, right? I don't drive a Tesla because it's a great electric vehicle. I drive it because I like the feeling I get from driving it. I don't go to eat at a nice steak restaurant because I just like steak. No, there's a feeling I get associated with eating steak. I could eat steak at home, but the feeling I get associated with eating that steak at a nice restaurant in a great atmosphere with my wife, all of those feelings are what I'm really going for. So your open loops are a result of the feelings and the things that you haven't closed down because you haven't properly dealt with them. And I'm seeing this more and more in generations coming, because we live in a society of open loops. Everything's constant open. Everything's constantly open. You're not closing. You're not shutting everything down. Look, you're not a slave to your business. You don't owe anything to your business other than what you can bring to it on a daily basis. And that's it. You don't owe everything. You don't owe your entire life to it. If you feel that way, then you're a slave to your company. You're a slave to your business. Think about that. The only thing that should be driving you is the passion you have to serve people. And at the same time, you need a healthy balance of, I've got to love me. Because if I don't love me, I'm not good for anybody. Now, I understand there's push weeks, pull weeks, right? There's times where you push. You got to get a few things done. You got to get some stuff out the door. But then there's those other days, other times where you pull back and you allow yourself rest. That comes from self-love. That comes from self-compassion. That comes from realizing you're on a journey. You're not on a sprint. I see this with younger entrepreneurs especially, where they feel like they've got to get it all done right now, and if they don't get it done, they'll never get it done. And that is not the truth. The truth is you will get it done if you do it in a very focused and methodical way. Now, how many of you know methodical can be boring to creative types, right? That is me. I am very much a creative type. I don't like the methodical. So this is a hack that I use to get me out of the methodical mindset and to get me into a mindset of, I'm going to make progress every day. I'm going to make progress every day. And I fall in love with progress. I fall in love with the process instead of, I got to have the whole thing accomplished today. So hopefully that helps. I know I went a little bit longer than I was hoping to go, but hopefully you get something out of it. Let me know if you have any questions. Talk to you later.